is edge-defying. Please welcome Chris ICONICIDE. Chris, it's your turn, baby.
Yay.
Get up here and take this microphone and do whatever you're going to do.
I'm not sure if I need a mic.
Right.
This mic's right there. But Vivian's actually been after me for the past 9 months to come out and do something. Seemed the time was never right. She's gonna do the park thing, but well, I'm kind of essential. But some of you might know me for something or other, but whatever it is you know me for, today I'm not doing it. Today I'm going to read a couple of true stories. And the real story that I want to do, as it is the truth, I figure I gotta come at it sideways. So I'm going to start off with a couple of funny true stories. They're all true. They all happened to me. The first building my family ever lived in, on the northern edge of Bushwick, was entirely rent-controlled and owned by a sweet little old lady who died before I was born. It and a couple more in the area were bought up by a Yugoslavian piece of shit. No, not all Yugoslavians are pieces of shit, but this one irrefutably was, named John Holmes. This abhorrent lump had a mission, and that was to drive the completely racially and culturally mixed lower, middle, and working class tenants of the building out so he could jack up the rents in our absence. One by one, 5 other families packed up and left. The Liparis across the hall, the Koreans on the top floor. I never learned their names, but their son was my first friend. And all the rest, black, Irish, all gone, but for us. I guess my dear dead dad was stubborn, but he wouldn't let it go. And anyway, our home was our prison, where I could feel his presence, even as he was on the way home from work, 7 blocks away. This was where I learned to make bullets when I was 5 years old, and where my sister was beaten with a bullwhip. John Holmes employed the classic slumlord strategy of letting the entire building run to ruin. As far back as I can remember, there were roaches in the cornflakes, rodents living under the stove. When a pipe burst in the bathroom ceiling, it was 6 months before someone was found to fix it. Probably because dear dad didn't want his mafia buddies to see how he made his family live. So instead, he fashioned a huge funnel out of a shower curtain from the ceiling to the tub. And we went to the bathroom using an umbrella. And when, in one of his innumerable rages, he slammed the apartment door so hard it flew off the hinges, there it lay on the floor against the kitchen wall for 6 months. No, for a month and a half, sorry about that. When Bushwick burned during the blackout of '77 and the neighborhood went insane, it was just another night for us. No power, no escape. My mom even had regular candles she'd bring out every time we lost electricity. So in the summer of '84, when we'd finally moved across the street, without a moving van, carrying everything, including the stove, from one apartment to the other, the head monster, that's my so-called father, the head monster decided we'd leave John Holmes on a parting gift. My idiot brother seems too weak for the task, but it number 1, as my sister would call him, had brought 2 sledgehammers home from his job as a longshoreman. Mob ties meant his crippled left arm, bought him a cushy desk job, a cushy no-effort desk job in Bayonne, falsifying shipping manifests. And he handed one over to me, telling me flat out to destroy everything. Cradling in his left hand and swinging with his right, he demolished the bathroom tub with a fury that I'd only ever seen when he was beating one of us. And me? I got to do part of the toilet and all of the bathroom sink, smashing it to pieces with a sledgehammer. I was 14. You know what? That's one of my happiest childhood memories. That is funny story number one. Funny story number two. When I was living in the projects over in East New York after losing my place down in Flatbush, where my skull was caved in by a black man for the color of my skin 2 nights before a Rock Against Racism show, I flatlined and spent a month in the coma. Fractures start here, they go all the way down here, like 18 inches long. Brass knuckles, 2 shots. Left for dead, stayed conscious for 2 hours, flatlined back in Bushwick. I had no idea I was staying there illegally until I got served with a 24-hour eviction notice and had to crash with my sister at a welfare motel up in Jamaica, where I got booted out from 4 days. I always used to do my laundry in the basement laundry room in the project, of course, at around 1 a.m. Sure, I'd had some kid point what he said was a gun at me, it was in the pocket of his hoodie, and demand the money I didn't have, so I smirked at him and pushed right past him, pushed his shoulder out of the way. Cutting from the Euclid Avenue stop on the A through an underground parking garage on my way home after work. But I've never been interested in knowing any of my neighbors, ever since my family moved from one side of the street to the other in '84, and magically, we're no longer welcome to hang out with Roberta, Charlie, Mikey, Crazy Sue, and the rest. So one night, I'm sitting on top of one of the washing machines, also red, reading a book and half dozing to the vibration. The entire room is painted somewhere between mud and blood red. When a couple of women from the building also start watching a lower 6, I heave my finished wash from the washer to the dryer when one woman nudges the other one and says, naturally as if I'm not right there, he puts all of his clothes in one dryer for 1 hour. And laughs. What? Too poor? That's a funny story number 2. Okay, funny story number 3, and then I'll get to the real story. My favorite 4th of July memory was from the morning of July 5th. I was maybe 9 or 10. And the block full of full-blooded Italians across the street had, the night before, put on a typically wondrous, apocalyptic display, complete with quarter-to-core mats of fireworks. By a mat is a dozen, or 1,728 fireworks from one corner of the block to the other. Tanks, helicopters, Roman cannons, bottle rockets, and M80s and blockbusters set off in trash cans and mailboxes. As I was from the poor, racially mixed side of the street, mine was simply to watch, as I had neither the money nor the visibility to participate. But the morning of any July 5th meant waking up early, swiping my mom's cigarette lighter, and stepping outside into the crisp morning air to root through the husks, an inch or so deep from curb to curb, corner to corner, and perhaps unearth a stray UXB, that's unexploded bomb. Back then, my MO was to light whatever it was, watch the fuse for a few seconds, and then fling it away to explode as close to my body as possible. I like to feel the shockwave. Well, that morning, a huge smile spread across my face because I had just unearthed a lady finger. Red, half the size of a regular firecracker, and much, more powerful. So I lit it normally, set for the explosion that I was certain would make this morning worthwhile. What I had not counted on, however, was its quick fuse. The ladyfinger blew up before I was able to completely let go of it. And it blew off, I don't know if you can see the discoloration, it blew off the tip of my left thumb, leaving the impression of a ragged, bloody, blackened cigar. Oh, I thought, as I shrugged, ripped the charred flesh away with my teeth, flashed a brief grin, and went inside for a Band-Aid. Happy birthday, America. By the way, when I was in the laundry room of the projects, this was the book that I was reading. A Murder to Make You Grow Up, Little Girl, by Lawrence Oriel. I suggest reading that. This is the last piece. This is the piece I actually came here to read, but I figured since it was the truth, it would alienate some people. So I figured I had to come by it sideways, a couple of funny stories. This one is a true story I wrote over 20 years ago. This is the first time it's been in front of an audience anywhere. True story happened to me. It's called Late Night, Fight White. Written around 1996 or something. For the past 2 years, the MTA has been screwing with the L train, usually on late nights and weekends, but with no prior warning. Service will be altered or terminated. One night, the train will stop running at Broadway Junction in East New York, Brooklyn. The next night, it'll stop running at Lorimer Street in Greenpoint, and I'll have to take a shuttle bus the rest of the way home. The next night, it'll terminate at Merlin Wyckoff Avenues in Bushwick. The next, there'll be nothing at all running over the East River from Manhattan to Brooklyn, and I'll have to take an alternate route. So it will take me 2.5 hours to get home instead of the usual 40 to 45 minutes. It was Friday night on the L train, and there go the lights.
Holy cow. That is so weird. Those are the headlights that went out. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, service delays and all that, but it's
That's very sucking.
It was Friday night on the L train, on which ridership late nights has been dwindling to hipsters and Puerto Ricans. A group of the latter was clustered around me. Two in particular, directly across the car from me, engaged in an animated discussion, carried out in English for the benefit of the rest of us. Maybe they were a bit drunk, or maybe they were the type to refer to themselves as New Yorican, or call themselves Latin, even though they'd be completely lost at a Latin Mass. They were friends, or at least they knew each other. One was growing increasingly bellicose, and the second seemed to be talking him down by badgering him. "You best not be messing, son." I wasn't really listening. Homie A, the loud one, started bragging how he had hollow point bullets in his 9mm, and he'd bust a cap in the ass of homie B. B shot back that he didn't have the balls to do it in front of all these people. A replied, "You think these white motherfuckers got your back? They don't give a shit about you. They live in a project. Motherfuckers live in houses." Houses? Yeah. This is when I felt them staring at me, trying to get me to return their gaze, like I look rich or something. Or they just thought it would be fun to beat me to a pulp, 3 or 4 on one. By the way, I was ganged up on by 7 of my mother's neighbors and beaten down in a vestibule for trying to enter the building to visit my own mom. Because I'm not the right, ethnicity. I'm not the kind of people who took over the neighborhood and drove the multicultural and multiracial population out. Anyway. As is, okay, I'll blow all these motherfuckers away right now. As is my wont, I completely ignore them. Nothing compares to that kind of racist idiocy. This went on way longer than it should have, and my guess that cramming into a shuttle bus together would not bode well for anyone involved held true. It seems they had found a more suitable target, a Russian gentleman in his late 30s or early 40s. Unlike me, this fellow returned their stare. Okay, now if you understand the Puerto Rican element in my area, you realize he had already committed 3 major infractions. 1, he was white. 2, he didn't leave. 3, he made eye contact. By the time we had all piled into the shuttle bus together, they decided he was fair game, and that A, the brawn to the other's brains, he was dead meat. Were I not forced further forward and jammed into a seat, maybe 5 feet away, they very well could have chosen me. The rest I heard, but I could not turn my head completely to see. Packed into the overcrowded bus with no available breathing room, they had no choice, but to jostle him around while continuing their anti-white tirade. I could be wrong on one point. Maybe the bus was the first place they had seen him. Still, all he had done to provoke them was be white. And, Russian born and bred, he did not understand why their anger was being directed at him. Bread lines, street gangs, and hard labor do not qualify one as white oppressor. Or so he thought. He looked at them, bemused, as if thinking, this cannot be happening. A saw this and smelled blood. What the fuck, what? When he didn't reply, A hauled off and punched him in the face. This is on a crowded shuttle bus. Okay, one more time. If you're white and you're attacked, it's your own damn fault. Because all white people are rich, evil scum. Any resistance, anything other than bleeding and going away, is punishable by anything up to and including death. So, since the target did not go away, and he did not stop being white, the more bellicose of the two decked him again and again and again. The white oppressor stupidly did not understand what he was being beaten for, or why B kept screaming at him. Oh, but everybody else on the bus understood. That is why nobody told the bus driver, and no one intervened. All they did was make room for fists to be pulled back and swung, and for the oppressor to half slump to the floor, defending himself, but not fighting back. Whitey couldn't even follow the script by spouting the racial slurs everyone knows we're all versed in. Instead, he kept saying, nonsensically, that he wasn't rich, but was an immigrant himself. No. Impossible! And so the beating went on and on. And then, horror of horrors, evil Whitey started fighting back. So not only did the assault escalate, but the non-white hero involved in the beating kept screaming sagely that Whitey was fucking stupid for bringing this upon himself. Is that it? Whitey replied, still unable to comprehend the fact that he was evil because he was white and must be destroyed. Finish it! Kill me! He didn't even ask the other 100 people on the bus why they were letting it happen. The villain of the piece did not develop the sense these fine men were doing their best to beat into him. Finally, the enforcer of the two, convinced by his fellow do-gooder that someone might just call the police, hopped off at the next stop. All told, The assault had gone on for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. The orator of the two stayed behind to insult Whitey and to attempt to teach him a lesson. Of course, this consisted of screaming at Whitey that it was all his fault. Why the fuck you do this to your family? He didn't finish it. He should have killed me. You crazy motherfucker! You just got beat up for nothing! The villain of the piece wasn't even aware how badly he had been hurt. Because when Hero B told him, "Man, you're turning blue," he went quiet, and after a moment said, "Really?" And the bus drove on. This story